Good evening and thank you for joining us. A long-awaited summit to address social emergency on First Nations is taking place here in Thunder Bay. Leaders with NAN and the Mushkegowuk Tribal Council are negotiating with the provincial and federal governments. It's the first step in drafting a new protocol for when remote First Nations declare a state of emergency. Luisa reports.
Remote First Nations communities often lack resources, stable living conditions, and education. People live in poverty, driving many to commit suicide. It's a crisis that's been going on for years, seemingly unnoticed by those not directly affected. But the people that live there know all too well what it can do to their communities.
If somebody commits suicide, that affects the whole community. Not only that community, but it may have a ripple effect into other communities. I've seen that happen.
This meeting has been a long time coming. It's the first step to establish and draft a sustainable protocol to deal with the social emergencies tearing apart Canada's Indigenous regions.
It's way overdue. Way overdue to have something, a tool to have in place where First Nations and the governments need to go to work together to address the situation, the crisis situation, or the emergency, and it's something that it's missing.
Currently, when a social emergency does occur, outside government help is brought into these remote communities as an immediate response. NAN First Nation's Deputy Grand Chief Jason Smallboy disagrees with that tactic. He says for initiatives to truly work, they need to be established at a community level.
In these crisis teams, they provide short-term assistance and then they leave, and then they just kind of leave the community hanging. Like there's no long-term planning, how to deal with, to help the members, kind of get out of that crisis mode. It's more of like putting a Band-Aid on an open wound and then not really fully addressing, the wound itself.
This was the first day of the two-day summit. On Friday, David Zimmer, Ontario's Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation, will attend and address the media for more details. Luisa, TBT News.